Welcome to the world of Greek drama. Here, under the twin mask of comedy and tragedy, we explore the core of the human experience and a chorus of reflections and the connections of timeless stories.
Ancient Greece comedy was a popular and influential form of theater, performed across ancient Greece from the 6th century BCE. The most famous playwrights of the genre were Aristophanes and Menander, and their work and those of their contemporaries spoke fun at politicians, philosophers, and fellow artists. The precise origin of Greek comedy plays are lost in the maze of free history, but the activity of men dressing as and mimicking others must surely go back a long way before written records. The first indication of such activity in the Greek world come from pottery, where decorations in the 6th century BCE frequently represented actors dressed as horses, satyrs, and dancers in exaggerated costumes.
A comedy play. The use of voice and gesture were extremely important in Greek comedy. Although innovations occurred, a comedy play followed a conventional structure. The first part was the pardos, where the chorus of as many as 24 performers entered and performed a number of song and dance routines. Just to impress, their outlandish costumes could represent anything from giant bees with huge stingers to knights riding another man in imitation of a horse, or even a variety of kitchen utensils. In many cases, the play was actually named after the chorus. For example, Aristophanes' The Wasps, comedy and competition. During the 5th century BCE, at major religious festivals such as City Dionysia and the Linnea, comedies were performed in competition over 3 days.
Old comedy refers to plays written in the 5th century BCE. The earliest surviving complete play is Aristophanes' Acarnanians, first performed in 425 BCE, and citations from surviving fragments of earlier plays can be dated no earlier than 450 BCE. This is one of the most famous lines in an old comedy, way back in 425 BCE. "Oh, would some god, with a sudden stroke, convert me to a cloud of smoke. Like politicians' words, I'd rise in a gaseous vapor to the skies," according to the 50 Act 1, Scene 1 of The Wasp by Aristophanes. On the other hand, in New Comedy, sometime in late 4th century BCE, a new style of Greek comedy arrived, although the transition from Old Comedy may have been more gradual than the surviving plays suggest, and some scholars propose an intermediary stage called Middle Comedy.
The legacy of comedy. Greek comedy would continue to be popular through Hellenistic and Roman times, with many of the classic plays being performed again and again. Latin comedies were written most famously by Plautus and Terence, and the genre diversified into various other forms of comic theater and such as pantomime and togata or civilian. For the birth of Greek literature, the first plays were performed in the theater of Dionysus, built in the shadow of the Acropolis in Athens at the beginning of the 5th century, but theaters proved to be so popular, they soon spread all over the Greece.
What is tragedy and when did it originate? Greek tragedy was a popular and influential form of drama performed in theaters across ancient Greece from the late 6th century BCE. The most famous playwrights of the genre were Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. Many of their works were still performed centuries after their initial premiere. However, the exact origins of tragedy, or tragoida, are debated among scholars. Some have linked the rise of the genre, which began in Athens, to the earlier art form, the lyrical performance of epic poetry. May I borrow a famous line from Euripides? He said, quote-unquote, "I'd 3 times sooner go to war than suffer childbirth once." And this is what Greek tragedy is all about.
So the role of the chorus. So it provides opinions and points of view about the action of the play, structures, in strophic pairs which add movements and dance. So strophe dancers produce across the stage while singing. Antistrophe dancers turn around and come back across during actions. So the 4 concepts of Greek tragedy composes of arit, which means excellence, goodness, and moral virtue. Hubris, which means excessive pride, arrogance, and too much confidence. 8 also refers to an action performed by a hero that leads to his death or downfall. And lastly, nemesis is divine retribution sought against the people guilty of hubris.
The elements of tragedy we have plot, the arrangement of incidents divided into 5 acts with several scenes, the character, men and women will act tragic heroes, diction, the medium of language or expression through which the character reveals his actions and feelings, thought, what the character feels and thinks in the development of the plot, spectacle, the stage scenery to evoke atmosphere, and the song, the musical element of the chorus made up of choral odes. For Aristotle's perfect tragedy, may I borrow a famous line from Aristotle? Pity is aroused by unmerited misfortune, fear by the misfortune of a man like ourselves. He is also believed that good tragedy must evoke feelings of fear and pity in the audience, since he saw these two emotions as being fundamental to the experience of catharsis, which is the process of releasing strong and pent-up emotions through art.
Let's talk about the legacy of tragedy. Although plays were specifically commissioned for competition during religious and other types of festivals, many were reperformed and copied into scripts for mass publication. Those scripts, regarded as classics, particularly by the three great tragedians, were even kept by the state as official and unalterable state documents. Also, the study of the classic plays became an important part of the school curriculum. Now, let's talk about war and Greek tragedy. Aeschylus, chronologically the first of the three great ancient Greek tragedians, fought against the invading Persians at the Battle of Marathon in 490 BC. It's also possible he fought at the Battle of Salamis 10 years later.
All in all, let us take with us the echoes of tears and laughter, the resonance of victories and sorrows, as the curtains close on our journey through the rich timeless stories of Greek drama.